Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to go into a little bit more of the do's or don'ts, or how to handle situations with someone who you've been involved in, interacting with, trying to get away from, someone who is sort of malignant, pathological narcissism, someone who perhaps is psychopathic, someone who is antisocial in the core, but on the outside there is something very different. So there's a show, there's a charade, there's a mask, there's parlor tricks, there's lies, there's sordid affairs. I mean, it gets pretty scandalous with these individuals, especially when they are up to no good. And it becomes very difficult, devastating, in fact, when you are trying to understand what to do, when you've never dealt with this sort of situation or experience before. And you then reach its straws where you're like, then, with a straw, just trying to row your boat on merrily down the stream, and you're just going like this, and you're not getting anywhere. In fact, you're just burning yourself out. So it's to understand that the psychopath, this is how they break you down. So we're just going to go into a little bit of a recap of part of the issue, and then we're going to go into the do's or don'ts. Once again, it's to understand that there's a confusion, there's a charade, there's a sort of communication which befuddles you, amuses you, confuses you, gets you off track, distracted, and in the process, unbeknownst to you, you're being divided from yourself. Very heavy language that we're using here. However, it is very objective in terms of what goes on and how this occurs when someone is, involved with someone who is a malignant narcissist, who is toxic, not good for the environment, not good for you. Like the oil spill is not good for them ducklings. It's the same situation when you've got this sort of really negative energy around these people who have caused you to feel dehumanized, causing you mental issues, social issues, anger issues, poverty issues, low self-esteem. Notice how I'm saying causing, okay, within you, which is you're a vessel. So it's kind of, and once again, the feeling of anger, the feeling of not being heard, the feeling of confusion, the feeling of hyper arousal, the gaslighting, the scapegoating, all those different setups or tactics are designed, really they're like a projection of what is inside that like cauldron. But, outside, they can be flitting around, super macho, super feminine, whatever it is, super that they're about, or, they're just impenetrable in terms of being able to communicate. They're very isolated, yet they feel that this ability or is a skill or a quality which is sought after. So they have this sort of self-indulgent, like, I have the power to do this. Like, I have this power. They feel, and this information is just derived from confessions, communications of people who are psychopathic. So it's well known in the literature. It's also replicated with those psychopathic individuals whom I have encountered and worked with and heard from, etc. That there is this feeling of, I have this power. In other words, because they don't have emotion, because they don't have love, because they don't have attachment, because they don't have moral standards, because they don't have any feelings. Yes, we're talking about a person. I mean, it's really, you have to understand that they're in a whole nother place. A psychopath will tell you, you need to know that not everybody in the world thinks like you. So the psychopath will give these sort of professions or these sort of blurbs, which are giving you indicators of all that is inside, and something that you don't know and you can't You just know, you feel a devastation. You feel this sort of telepathic control coming over your body, your mind, the anger that's out of control, the wanting to self-hurt, self-mutilate, these sort of, trying to get things out of your system. It's just this toxicity. And in my understanding, in my feeling, it's because of the projection of what is inside that person that you have absorbed like a sponge and taken on their energy. So it's very important when we talk about the do's or don'ts, it's very important for you to understand the cause that's created this effect within you, and the fact that they will use these tactics in this projection, this anger, the reptilian glare, the deception, the confusing, they're projecting and causing you to become a vessel, or like what's in the sponge, of all that is theirs. So it's very, very horrific. And if you look at your self-talk, as a result, you feel afraid. I feel not good enough. I feel unattractive. I feel inhuman. I feel isolated. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I need to be on the internet all the time searching this person. You become, this sort of reptilian, cold-blooded situation which you don't recognize. So this reptilian feeling of something really slimy that is not yours, that you're wanting to self-harm because it feels so uncomfortable. You're just wanting to feel anything else than what this person has projected, i.e. the sponge. You've absorbed this neurochemically. You've absorbed this physiologically. Your neurochemicals are involved, your physiology, your breathing, your heart rate, your vision, what you've seen, all your senses, what you've touched, what you've heard, what you've tasted, all this, which has been sort of intertwined in this big ball of titillation yet horror, causes you to be like this sponge that you don't, the fibers don't know how, i.e. like your muscle fibers, don't know how to get it out of its fibrous being. And so you feel kind of like maybe a possession, some people describe it as. So if you're feeling this way, it is really unequivocally due to a projection of this type of individual. It's important to understand energetics. The energy, positive versus negative, like in a battery, like in a light bulb, energy. I have energy from this honey. I have energy from this Snicker bars. I have energy from this brownie. I have energy from this steak. I have energy from this soup. So you have different energies, some that are conducive to well-being and metabolize well and make you feel good, like maybe a super salad or something protein that really makes you feel really great. And then there's other stuff that you've eaten, you're like, this is inedible. Some really bad fish, some really rotten vegetables, something that got stuck, you're like, ugh. That's really the feeling that you're trying to get out, but it's so deep and penetrated because empathetic people, oftentimes it's important to understand, we're getting to the do's or don'ts. We're setting up the scenario though, so you really get it. And for you to know that I get you while you're watching this, it's to understand that energetically, you've absorbed and you've allowed, because oftentimes these individuals will select and target the individuals who have an abundance of feeling, emotion, caring, remorse, guilt, empathy. Do you see what I'm getting at? You've got an abundance of these qualities, innocence. You have, loyalty. You have sense of freedom. You have sense of patriotism. You have a sense of joy. You might take fondness in a flower, in some fabric, some food, cheering somebody with a beer or a wine or a champagne or a hot chocolate, and you might want to hold hands and give a back rub. So all these feelings that I've just described, they aren't going on in this. They're not happening. They are not existent in this psychopath. Okay, they will describe themselves cold-blooded, etc., ice in the veins, so reptilian. So that ain't you if you're, in the rest of society. But as I was mentioning, the psychopath, because they're ice in their veins, because they're cold-blooded, because they don't have this they feel that they're superior, that they have this power, that they're not sort of stopped by these feelings, that they can just kind of do things. Like they'll just be like, yeah, I'm taking that. Yeah, I want that. They don't have any remorse. They don't, up here, they don't have any brakes on that morality. So that's the high risk. And then they don't like to be, they're hyper stimulated if they have, multiple relationships. So you're like, how can you juggle these many men or these many women, or these different facades? How can you, and then all of a sudden become like this, all of a sudden become like that? So there's this like whole different character that there's not a, continuity, between them. They can really metamorphosize their physique, their language, their tone, everything is sort of very chameleon-like. Or I've used this experience before, but how you might see like the National Geographic and you see like that octopus, like at one moment it's gray and then it turns green and it looks like rocks. Like they literally metamorphosize and contort, if you ask me, in my witnessing. And I am not delusional. Okay, this is what we're referring to, and as people have attested to, it's very scary. And so, anyway, when trying to move forward, when trying to develop your sense of what a lot of viewers would call your sanity, i.e., your warmth, your values, your health, like your body getting detox. In other words, the sponge ain't got them in it. I talk so many tools about that: the recovery journal, the recovery dates, the astralmations, the emotements, getting structure, all these different things, designed, resensitizing your senses, feeding yourself the positive images, working on the subconscious and the quantum healing level, is to understand that physiologically and energetically, you have an essence within you which is untouched by this. Okay, so it is important for you to come back to that. And perhaps that's what you've wanted so long, but you haven't been able to experience. Some call it the quantum field, some call it infinite wisdom, infinite guidance, infinite love, the Christ child, the Jesus, when you really get to experience it and sort of feel that there's something never ending. In other words, it is always with me, and it's something very positive, and you have a sense of guidance. There's a wisdom there. And then so you kind of come to this as a result of this detour. So as with many people who I've consulted with, it's important for you to look upon, and this is my how-to or my go-to, or really what I would call the do's and don'ts, is that it's important for you, and also parts of the recovery journal are your lessons learned. So you need to realize that there's some humbling that needs to be done. There's some lessons learned there's lessons that need to be learned, i.e. I get it, i.e. I'm stopping that, I know this, and hell no, I won't go. I'm not that. I will not be disturbed by that. I don't give a flying F, you know what? I don't give so you might need to conjure up some new, very strong self-love emotions that get you to articulate from your diaphragm and allow your voice to flow through you energetically without shame, without self-consciousness. Because the psychopath, when they go through all this projection and you're taking on their negative energy like a sponge, it's within you. Some people call it a life energy suck, energy vampire. Okay, yeah, we can put all that in this category with the toxicity of these individuals. Yes, people can be this. You hope to not have these people in your inhabitant areas where you live, where you work, where you vacation, where you go to study, your schools, your libraries, wherever. You don't want to encounter this. This is, not desirable. However, somehow you might have encountered this type of individual in your journey of life. So it is to understand that this self-consciousness and this self-fear and I never feel good enough is the projection inside of the insecurity that they're releasing in order to see you crumble. It is a deliberate and intentional hurting. So it's something that they think very sort of contorted, twisted, and enigmatic about how to hurt you. In other words, get you at your finest moment. Do you know what I'm saying? Kick you behind the knees, kick you behind the head, whatever. It's very deliberate, intentional, and it's designed to hurt, maim, you know, intraspecies predator. So it's to understand that the detox needs to happen. And the do's and don'ts are very important for the tools. So number one, do not feel self-conscious. Release that fear. The feeling that you are inadequate, or the feeling of, feeling empty, feeling lost, feeling distorted, wanting to hurt yourself, wanting to scream, wanting to do, where you're just really out of control. It's really kind of that energy trying to work through you and trying to say, it's trying to give you a message, no more. I mean, if you have kept going back and to the point where you've been hurt and distorted and confused and yelling, and it's gotten that ugly, it's your body that's trying to tell you you're in the wrong place. The body knows what the mind doesn't want to hear. So when you are like this, your body's trying to tell you, nope, not this girl. Nope, not this guy. And you're like, but yes, but yes, but yes. It's that repetition that is causing the mayhem. So it's to release that cycle and to come into yourself and allow yourself to be fluid and allow yourself to breathe and allow yourself to have the self-talk where you come home to a friendly, warm, inviting experience of yourself, your essence. So it's to know that you are in the process of restoring your senses back to where it should be, but it's going to be it's going to be like an alchemized experience of yourself. It's going to be growth. You're going to feel different. You're going to feel strong. You're going to feel strength. You're going to feel security. You're going to feel wholeness. In other words, you need to do this work in some alone time, in the privacy of your heart and consciousness and your mindful area, i.e. that very essence or part of you, which is the higher thought, the metacognition, the really wise wisdom part of you that's been there all along, but you've been pushing away, or this person has been helping you to push away, and feeding on this. And it's to release that and say, and it's to give it back to them, diffuse it and say, nope, I don't give, I don't care, I do not care. So you want to have self-admittance. This is what you do want to have. I don't care about the anomaly or abnormality of that. That is not mine. And I do not care to carry this with me anymore. And to, energetically give it back to them. And know that you are surrounded by, think of it like a clear glass protection that they cannot see and they cannot touch, and that you just kind of break through, like breaking glass, like clink, I'm free. It's to get that association in your mind then with understanding how negative, whatever you want to call them, pig-like, filthy, rotten, disgusting, evil, maniacal. It's to know what that is, okay? And to have self-admittance, but have it at the mindful level. So you take that understanding, no matter how long you've been trying to push it away, and say, I'm sorry, I forgive myself, I forgive that person, but God, my essence has drawn me to this, and it's for a reason, it's for a higher purpose, and it's going to cause me to actually become a better person. And I will now stand in my strength. And this is okay. Because these individuals have not permitted, not encouraged, not supported, not respected you standing in your strength. They've done the opposite. So it's to understand the polarity, the difference, the polar opposites. And, if they're the dark cloud, that is what they are. It's okay. They are that. It is what it is. And then you coming back. And so as a viewer so aptly stated, you do not engage or you do not challenge them. That's a great word. I love that comment. You do, what do you do and what you don't do? You do not challenge these people. You do not go up against them. You don't begin to fight. You don't begin to give them a taste of their own medicine. You do not interact at the fiery level. You do not get triggered. You do not give in. You do not give. You do not. You are shut down like a library, at midnight. You are closed to them. Boom, airtight. There ain't nothing getting through. It is a allowing and an understanding within yourself that it has to be outside of you. The sponge has to wring it clean. So the mindfulness and the willing and then the self-talk are what are very, very crucial. And so you do want to rid, purify, expunge, extinguish, get rid of image-wise, and get proper associations with what you're dealing with, and that you're not buying into the positive associations. The lover, the perfect guy, the perfect woman, I gave him this, they took my 401k. Okay. No, it's done. So it just, calling it what it is. It is rotten. It's composted. Compost them in your mind, not like literally, but they are that. And so you need to then shine your brightness and then come into your own. And your self-talk needs to be in that mindful level. And you need to then develop the self-talk, which is very sort of jovial and playful with yourself, so you can be and live in that innocence as a child. Like, you have to be able to, like, let's just say your name is Billy. Come on, Billy boy, let's get with it. Let's get this done. Let's do the lawn. Let's do the laundry. Let's do some, lunch. And then refer to yourself in this very sort of cuddly, cozy, warm way, comforting way. So, in other words, when you do that and you repeat it over and over and over again, you're resetting, you're reconditioning, you're reprogramming in the quantum field. So your essence is what's running the show now. The quantum field is now running your life. Your trust has to be there. It's just like, I'm throwing some trust out there, and I'm disengaging, that is not part of me. No, I'm not fooled. I'm standing in my truth. I'm standing in my strength. Whoever believes me, who doesn't, it doesn't matter. I know what I know, that 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 I know. Okay, that we're at that level. So coming to that is what you do want to enter into. You do not challenge, you don't go up against, you don't try to prove wrong, prove yourself right, prove this, tit for tat, as I say, enter into the boxing ring, have words, have spats, have fist fights, throwing, whatever. No, you do not go up against this. You let it roll away like a ball of dust in a dust storm, rolling through the fields. You just let all that gunk just roll down in its big gunky way, whether it's a big sage ball that's just full of dust, that's nothing can live there because it's just a big duff ball, whatever you call it, a dust bunny. Like, it just does not have use for you. It is not essential for you. It is really sort of garbage like. It's really sort of, people might call it crap, junk. It's just, and you can't put a bow on a dust ball. It's just not what you would do. You would not give yourself a dust ball and say, I want to have a relationship with you. It's just, unfortunately, this person is vapid and not containing what you might have seen or thought, or so that is the coming to what I call coming into yourself. And it's kind of, your energy is allowing. It's an allowing. I'm allowing the healing. I'm allowing the flow. I'm allowing the positive energy. I'm moving myself a little bit more slowly with a little bit of self-respect. calling yourself, by your name, and then being a little cute with it, like, come on, Billy boy, come on, Susie Q, however, you give yourself a little oomph, come on, maybe you call yourself by a little nickname with your name, kind of, and you get yourself restored to that. So, and you do not want to let this individual corrupt your healthy relationships, because they will go after that. It's like a virus. It's like a cancer spreading. Oops, it's in your lungs, it's in your brain, and it's in your hip. Uh-oh, this is out of control. So they will try to put their talents, their influence, to try to separate people from their good relationships. So they will try to get you angry at them, saying mean and hostile things at them, giving them anger, slamming the door, not going over for visits. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. We're talking about your healthy relationships, where perhaps you've now, this person is then destroyed. Do not let your healthy relationships be adulterated, tainted by this experience, because they will go after that and it will make you feel very self-destructive. So it's to say, no, and it's to understand that these are basically very, very covert forms of aggression. As we were speaking earlier in the video, in that great interview with Sam Vatkin and Richard Grannon, and I can give you the video. It's Sam Vatkin, The True Toxicity of Social Media Revealed. I would highly recommend watching that interview. It's very dense. However, it's very relevant to the work that we do here on the Peace and Harmony channel. And these guys, Richard Grannon, I believe, he calls himself the Spartan life coach. He's out of the UK. I have not spoken with him. Sam Vatkin, I'm familiar with his work. I'm familiar with his books. I have not met him. We are here in the US. But it's very important because he really gets into some of the emotions that are very divisive. It's important for you to understand what you do need to do is you need to understand some new verbiage, some new vocabulary, some new terminology, and some new understanding of the dynamics of human behavior, psychology, sociology. Some of these, it's just as if, you had found out that you had some diagnosis. You probably want to research it and get to know like a little bit about what's going on. Okay, I'm not advocating or condoning Sam Vatkin, but it's very important I think there's a couple very important elements to that discussion. And he talks about pathological envy, where it's how I cannot be like you. So he talks about how there's, friendly competition or jealousy. Oh, I love that. Where'd you get that tool? Where'd you get those shoes? There's this like jovial, playful, oh, I really like, and you might be sort of jealous or like, I really want that for myself. There's that playful kind of jealousy, but then there's envy where, I want something that I can't have, so I'm going to destroy you because I can't be like you. So there's this envy, people who are psychopathic, who are on top of it, don't like their physique, or they don't like their skin color or their hair. And so there's other people who have different skin color, different hair types. And so they'll work to destroy these because of a pathological envy. It's what he calls social positioning. He calls it social positioning. It's narcissism and psychopathy. So it's the social engineering. I am perfect. It's only about me. I am this. I am that. I am the funniest. I'm the guyest. I'm the womanist. I'm the perfect one. I do everything so perfect. And everybody else is like, ground down, like into sand, from your truth into this grit. You're all of a sudden made grit out of this person. And the root being, oftentimes, I feel that psychopathic aggression, which is causing this and making other people mental problems, the board and, encouraging borderline behavior, encouraging and exasperating social anxiety, exasperating depression, and just, causing this tension. It is not, you don't have to live that way. You don't have to live in this disgust. Get rid, extract, expunge, purge this from your aura, from your being. And so it's very important that this sort of situation will encourage that, and then it's to willfully say, I do not want that, and no thank you. It's to say, and then do have a very powerful negative image about this individual. Not that you're encouraging that or causing aggression, but it's important for you to see it what it is, and to say, I don't want to be on Jerry Springer. I don't want to be at the police department, next weekend. I don't want to, be yelling in the parking lot and looking like a fool. I don't want to have to sleep on the floor. I don't want to have to be homeless. I just don't want these things. I just don't want to be in poverty. I just don't want that anymore. And then, so what I'm saying is you need to have leverage and association with where this could lead. And nope, I'm not getting, left at the party. This is not going to happen. This is not. And so putting your foot down. So do put your foot down and do validate what you want and make it a vision. And then follow that vision. Follow that vision. I'm following my vision. Vision, vision, vision. I'm following my vision. So what I call your astralmations, because you're living, breathing it, and speaking it from the quantum fields, from a different part of yourself, which is true, loving, kind, generous, inspired, okay, that leads to fulfillment, that leads to the good life, the relationships, the smiles, the I did it, the accolades, the awards, the acknowledgement, the self-love, coming back into that, in rising up out of the ashes, with still that inner spark. It is to affirm that and get into repetition, because the repetition will breed the subconscious learning where you heal from. So it's like if you had a virus on your computer, you need the hard drive and the malware to get it out. It's just rip, it's cleansing the files. So you need to do these and say these from a new part of yourself. Very guttural, very with breath, with air, with breathing in, and then allowing yourself then to be taking in the positive inspirations and see the light, see the vision, see the people, the things that really uplift you and are truly you and you want to become immersed in, and immerse yourself and resensitize. So do these things, do the allowing, do the astral